My name is Rory Houlihan. I ran for U.S. Senate in spring 2016 and for Kentucky House spring 2018. My goal, as always, is to stop the ticking time bombs and put our economy on track for a bright new day instead of all things ending. Let me educate you on the ticking time bombs and give you the rest of the story. Part 2D of year 2019. Should we be pro-life or pro-soul? If evil reigns, would good righteous folks rise up to stand against evil's reign? Would evil continue to lie, to turn good to bad, so that bad can now look good? If good is now bad and bad is now good, can evil reign? Matt, you claim in your ads to fully fund teachers' retirement by reducing future retirement payments. This is a quit-twa con, folks. A this way, that way con. Opposites cannot agree. To reduce current is to defund future. Reducing ain't fully funded. If a lie is the truth is fake, can evil reign? Do birds of the feather flock together? So do confidence men? Oh. Now, to Matt Bevin's pro-life stance ad, which implies that Planned Parenthood being pro-abortion only, but the implication narrows to take the rest of the story. Do you know what other activity that Planned Parenthood does more than abortions? Like way more? Planned Parenthood hands out soul-saving contraceptives. An ounce of prevention is worth a whole pound of cure. Wouldn't you agree? So, when is stopping unwanted pregnancy in the first place moving backwards? Instead of forcing women to possibly have a soul-damaging abortion or face poverty from an unplanned pregnancy, because conservative laws don't provide support to those that make a pro-life decision. Something very wrong there. Conservatives have been using the proxy innuendo con of Russian-born conservative Ayn Rand to attack Christians and Christian values ever since Ayn Rand started using the proxy innuendo con in 1972. I thank the Louisville Presbyterian Seminary for lending me their copy of Ayn Rand's Philosophy, Who Needs It? Imagine, folks, on March 6, 1974, a Russian-born atheist standing in front of a graduating West Point cadets. Something wrong there? Do you think they know anything about philosophy? Probably not. Would you agree? It's okay, because Ayn Rand calls herself a conservative and stands for conservative values. She is promoting her novel, Atlas Shrugged. She is promoting her philosophy, objectivism. The Objectives, September 1971. I believe a New York Times reporter, seeing a group of Satanists reading it, asked them what they thought of it. One spoke up, and I believe said, "It is Satanism without the trappings of Satan." Well, I will let you decide. Read the objectiveness and the virtue of selfishness, and tell me if there is anything that agrees with the Bible. In her books and writings, the monkey male Immanuel Kant is used as her proxy for Christian moderate values. As I have pointed out, our government and our legal system are also based on Kant's Newtonian balance equation ideas. Rights have duties, and power needs checks and balances. According to Ayn Rand's, Kant's ideas are the biggest booby trap in history. You don't have to read far either, like page 10. Ayn Rand professed that rights have no duties, and power should not be checked. Oh, duty? Except in one case. A soldier's duty to die for his country. Does that mean our duty is to die for power's rights? What is a proxy innuendo con? As the name states, one uses a proxy to disguise the group the confidence men, and in this case women, don't want you to make the connection to the group they are targeting, to hide the group's real identity. Now, the confidence man or woman can covertly attack that group, even enlist members of that very group for their help. They turn that proxy into a scarecrow, boogeyman, or buffoon. They can't belittle the group and their values without alerting the targeted group of what they are doing to the group. So when he is supporting folks that make a pro-life decision, is this a Christian value? Today's conservative cons use the words socialist and liberal for those who stand for Christian values. When Ayn Rand and her conservatives made Christian values bad, so her selfish values could look good, Ayn Rand and her conservatives even used a special proxy innuendo term for us moderate Christians. We were not only liberals, but we moderate Christians were and are bleeding heart liberals, pointing to Jesus being speared on the cross by a Roman guard to make sure that Jesus was dead. And some folks didn't make the connection. Now, this wasn't the so-called lying media's fault. TV interviewers tried their best to tie her to the bleeding hearts liberals, meaning Christians. Ayn Rand just denied the connection and listed a bunch of progressive Christian congressmen instead, saying that helping those who make a pro-life decision has hurt the folks in need, that being helped is making them government dependents, and she stood against government dependency. Let's look at Ayn Rand's plan to get rid of moderate Christians. She states it. In your own profession, military science, you know the importance of keeping track of the enemy's weapons, strategies, and tactics, and being prepared to counter them. The same is true in philosophy. You have to understand the enemy's ideas and be prepared to refute them. You have to know his basic arguments and be able to blast them. In physical warfare, you do not send your men into a booby trap. You would make every effort to discover its location. Well, Kant's system is the biggest and most intricate booby trap in the history of philosophy, but is so full of holes that once you grasp its gimmick, you can defuse it without any trouble and walk right over it in perfect safety. And once it is defused, the lesser Kantians, the lower ranks of his army, the philosophical sergeants, privates of today, will fall of their own weightlessness by chain reaction. Moderate Christians, she is talking about. I need to write more on Ayn Rand and her statements. You know, I read the book titled The 100 Most Influential Philosophers, and Ayn Rand's name wasn't in it, but Kant's was. I wonder why. Maybe what Ayn Rand was talking about was her own philosophy. The only way selfishness is a virtue is if you are only motivated by selfishness and want that money for yourself. Just pro-stealing from government corruption. Is that what she stands for? Instead of those who need our help and our support. The con is often said in a grave tone, as if acting in a socialist or liberal or a Christian manner is something wrong. Does Scripture tell us to rejoice when we are attacked for walking with Jesus? Thanks to Ayn Rand, following conservatives, selfishness, many who make a pro-life decision are forced into poverty. Ayn Rand did write the book, The Virtue of Selfishness, poverty being often a highway to hell. When Matt Bevin and conservatives don't support those who make a pro-life decision, as he and his conservatives just did, would they put Kentucky's women and their children on a highway to hell? Being pro-soul includes one's whole life, even the time before conception. The only truly pro-soul action here is preventing unwanted pregnancies, because both abortion and poverty can be highways to hell. Who would be moving Kentucky more and more towards a pro-Christian state? Planned Parenthood or conservative Matt Bevin? After all, conservatives like Matt Bevin don't have room in their budgets to support those who make a pro-life decision, but they're all against abortion. Why? Could the intended consequences be to ensure poverty? Nothing better than loading down women with deadbeat dads' children. No support abortion bills move Kentucky families backwards towards poverty, highway to hell. Would more poverty make Kentucky more Christian or move Kentucky backwards towards atheism? If you are without your daily bread, would you be worried about your spiritual bread? Or would keeping women from having children until she finds that good man and letting them have as many children as they wanted be a much better road? I've been the good man, and I stand for good men's rights. So does Planned Parenthood. I have walked the walk and worked 3 jobs to support. That is why I'm speaking out about the importance of supporting those who make a pro-life decision. I don't stand against the good men's rights and have children to have children. And I know you don't either, because you folks have told me so. Um, you have pointed out disapprovingly of women who are standing in the grocery line with 2 or more children, each child obviously from a different daddy. You pointed out to me the gal, but the gal and the children standing in line are not the problem. The problem lies with who is missing, the men who have abandoned them, the deadbeat dads. Understand women will go through many duds before they find that stud. The intended or unintended consequences of conservative anti-abortion laws, which attacks Planned Parenthood and their mission to stop unwanted pregnancy with soul-saving contraceptives, ultimately leads to more abortions and more poverty, is to stand for deadbeat dads and against good men dads. I know being a good man sacrifice and stand. Rear ends run. You can't push a wet noodle and you can't force deadbeats and not ready to stand by. So prevention is the only real solution. I could demonize deadbeat dads, but this would make me no better than the conservative cons like David Cameron. Most deadbeat men are not ready to stand by young men. Again, soul-saving contraceptives not only save women's souls, but young men's souls too. Also, saving young men from a life of poverty. And conservative get tough laws, though well-intended, do little to make young men who can't support life, but put young men down the road of poverty. Putting folks into poverty does not solve. A light touch does much, while heavy-handed does little or nothing, often making bad worse. Preventing unplanned pregnancies with soul-saving contraceptives does, but the conservative con knows all too well that to make poor is to enslave. Poverty strips one of the ability to stand up and do what's right. That is why moderates believe in making our people strong and independent, like Matthew 20, incremental minimum wage increases to maintain a living wage. As someone who has studied economics, up to 500 level courses, I have heard economists talk about the 2 ways of getting folks to act: carrots, incentives, and sticks, penalties. As a Christian, would you not follow Jesus? Did not Jesus give us the golden rule? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That means, as a Christian, would you seek to use carrots, incentives, before you consider using sticks, penalties? So do I. Now, not only does the intended and unintended consequences of conservative Christian Matt Bevin's penalties only action stand for the deadbeat dad over the good man dad, but Matt Bevin's action of trying to close all the abortion clinics in Kentucky also stands for the rapist rights over women's and good men's rights, which is against the Bible and God the Father's intention to make humanity more humane. In Deuteronomy, there are laws which only make sense, like if a woman is raped, she must have an abortion. Like if a woman is raped, in Deuteronomy, she and her rapist are both put to death. The only way the victim being put to death makes any sense, is to prevent more low-OT oxytocin males who are often rapists, killers, and murderers from being born to the next generation. Deuteronomy is full of these domestication laws. As a farmer who has raised chickens, I know firsthand that there are two types of roosters. The good boy rooster who dances to ask, and the bad boy rooster that forces to rate. Do we want Kentucky men to be better than chickens? Conman narrow to take, in this case, changing our Christian focus from the expanded pro-soul goal of preventing abortions and poverty to we only have anti-abortion pro-life laws that focus just on conception to birth, time of one's life, and forget about the rest of one's life by not supporting those who make a pro-life decision. Confidence men can look good and do bad, using abortion as an ambush con. That's also in the Bible. I ask you, are you in the womb or are you in the world? Where is our souls judged? In the womb or in the world? So where should we be focusing soul-saving actions? To make Kentucky a road to heaven? In the womb, only abortion laws like the one Matt Bevin and conservatives just passed, with no support for those who make a pro-life decision? Where are one's souls judged? You will decide what road Kentucky will be on this November. Do you stand with conservative Matt Bevin's narrow wound only pro-life stance, 10 months? Or moderate Christians like me who take a whole life pro-soul stance? When Jesus saw his end was near in Mark, the first thing Jesus instructed his disciples was to be moderate in all things. When Paul saw his end was near in Timothy, Paul told future Christians, leaders, to be known by your moderation. If Jesus and Paul tell us to be moderates, do we need more conservative, narrow-minded extremists in our government, or more moderates who listen to both sides and make fair and balanced pro-soul laws? I stand for moderate candidates like Andy Beshear. Andy is a fighter, and AG Andy has hungered and thirsted for Kentucky justice, and conservative Matt Bevin has not. Oh, one last footnote. Bill Goodman, during the KET 2016 Democratic debate, asked me, would you support Planned Parenthood? I hung my head down and answered, yes. It is a sad day when you realize that Planned Parenthood is more pro-Christian than the American anti-abortion movement, because prevention is a road to heaven, and abortion and poverty are not. Planned Parenthood should do more on the soul-saving contraception and speak up more about their soul-saving prevention work. Do any of the pro-life anti-abortion bills support soul-saving contraceptive prevention? This is the end of Rory Houlihan's The Rest of the Story, Part 2D of year 2019. Should we be pro-life or pro-soul? If you like what you hear, would you do me a favor and subscribe to my Rory for Us YouTube channel? You folks have a good and